Everyone, welcome to the 47th episode of the Boundless Business Podcast. As always, it's the amazing Larissa, Justine, and the somewhat cool dude, Nico. What's up, guys? Happy Friday.
Hi. Happy 2-year anniversary to me working at Boundless.
Yes, Justine.
Justine, is it really your two? Oh, well, we sound awful here. Wow. Bad CEO. Well, this is now the Justine.
This is the Justine show now, actually.
100%. I love it.
If anybody wants to wish Justine a happy work anniversary, you can find her on LinkedIn. You'll see that she's our creative director, and she also on her LinkedIn really sets the vibe for all of us. She curates our vibes for us. So you can find her there.
Yes.
This was not part of the podcast. And Justine hates when I put her on the spot. But Justine, what's like one major takeaway for the last 2 years at Boundless?
Working with everyone. Everyone on our team is so cool, and like getting to know everyone has been really fun. And I know we're all virtual and far away from each other, but it feels like a really close-knit team. So that's been my favorite part.
Love it. Oh, I love it. Well, this is like my worst transition ever. But Justine, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about the three main categories that three are audience, message, and offer. So let's start with kind of defining what your audience is and what it should look like. For either one of you are free to start.
Yeah, I can talk about the audience. So I think everybody like conceptually understands what a marketing audience is, right? They're who you want your marketing in whatever form to reach, high level. It's important to kind of narrow this audience down to a particular niche or market. One common marketing mistake that people make is they market everything to everyone. So let's say I have clothing apparel and I'm like, everybody can wear clothes, like everyone is my target market. That's kind of a recipe for marketing disaster. Now, if I say specifically, maybe I have a really nice top that is popular with women ages 19 to 25, and I do some research into that market and I figure out what platforms they're most active on, what other things they really like, and really get to understand that particular market, and I market that specific top to them specifically, as opposed to putting it in front of, let's say, somebody like Nico, who's just not in that target market. The message will be much better received by your target market than somebody who's not. So it's important to kind of have a niche or a model of like who your ideal customer is and who exactly it is you want to be receiving your message, whatever form that comes in. It's the person on the other side of your marketing that you would say, that is a perfect customer for me. That's how to make your marketing successful from just kind of an audience point of view. You want to make sure that you are streamlining all your pieces, especially when it comes to like your operations, in terms of establishing your niche and reaching back out to them. It will just really help you kind of build better relationships with your clients, have a more focused marketing strategy. And it also is just going to help you like become an industry leader and build your reputation in that particular space. It's way better to be the king of a small hill than, a peasant on a huge hill, right? You don't want to be competing with huge multinational billion-dollar brands who have the wherewithal to create targeted marketing campaigns for a huge range of individuals. You want to make sure you're owning your audience and you're owning your market, because that is a much better way to understand how to get sales actually in the door. Really understanding your audience is also going to help you bring down your customer acquisition cost, because again, you can create more targeted messaging that's specifically for that exact person, and what you create is just going to land a lot better. So that's kind of a high level on audience. You can always dive your audience in deeper, and you can get very, very, very specific to the point of like, maybe I only want to reach women, maybe not 19 to 25, maybe I want to reach women 19 to 21 who are in college currently and their favorite color is blue. Like, that's a much more specific audience still. And getting as narrow as you can is going to help you put together marketing that speaks to those specific people.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, and I actually took this from a sales training that I was listening to. You always want to hedge your bets, whatever the bets is for you, right? So like some people are just more gifted at, basketball than I am. Do I hate those people? No, I just don't play basketball because for me it's a losing battle, right? Plus I'm not the biggest sports fan, so that wouldn't help either. The biggest thing is, where can you carve out something, right? In this case, a niche that just gives you a competitive edge, because I mean that's some people are just more gifted at math than other people, right? So what you want to find is like where do you have the most leverage and how can you lean into that, right? We just did this exercise, and there's this particular there's an offer that we're working on, and we had to like lay out the the ecosystem and say, okay, well, we have experience here, we don't have experience there, right? We have connections and can sell this product much quicker into this niche than another niche, right? Doesn't mean that the other niche is bad, it's just harder, right? And business is already hard, so you want to find all these ways of leverage to just help you expedite the process, and then niche is a great way of doing that. I don't know if you have any takes on that or if I just confused everyone, but
well, I kind of want to lay it out in terms of like what it looks like to have a niche and build an audience and what that looks like across different kinds of marketing. I think that will be sort of helpful. So I'm going to outline this, and I'll do this for all three of the main marketing categories we'll talk about, but I want to outline how it looks, to define an audience for, let's say, B2B lead gen versus B2C ads versus content creation, right? So there's many, many more forms of marketing than that, and they all have a specific audience. Just for the purposes of this podcast, I'll lay out those three because they're really helpful examples. And chances are they apply to you. However, keep in the back of your mind things like SEO, things like your website, things like maybe SMS marketing or email marketing, or think about all these different ways that you may be reaching out to people and how you can pull in a specific audience to those. So with that, in terms of like B2B lead gen, right? You want to think about your audience as, you want to know who's the person who has the buying power. You want to really define that out. Let's say, you want to know exactly their title, where they're located, how big the company they work for is, what's their level of seniority, what's typically in the job description for that role, how many of them are there in the United States, is it industry specific? You want to be able to narrow down on all of these individual pieces, and don't get me wrong, a ton more. Depending on the niche. Let's say you are reaching out to specifically B2B COOs of retail companies. What might be helpful is to know more about those retail companies as well. What's their top selling product? Where do they sell? What kinds of platforms and technology do they use? Understanding all these pieces about your specific customer will also help you understand, most importantly, their pain points. Their pain points will come back into when we refer to message and offer. However, understanding all of these pieces really helps you get to know, who is it that I'm reaching out to? Why would they want to work with me? What problems of theirs do I solve? That's all really important to understand an audience. Now, taking that same frame of thinking, understanding who is it that I'm reaching out to? What problem do I solve? Let's think about that in terms of like ads. Let's say B2C ads. Let's say you have, water bottle to sell. You want to understand a lot more demographic information. So are you focusing more on men versus women? How old are they? What life stage are they in? What level of disposable income do you assume that they have? Do they have any ancillary products? So it's like, if it's a water bottle, maybe they're also really into, I'm just going to say hiking, right? Maybe you have a hiking water bottle. So you can maybe target them based on if you see, maybe they tag a certain location on their Instagram and it's a popular hiking trail. You look at all the people who use that and you filter out everybody who's in your, gender demographic, age demographic, income demographic, or you use other ways to figure out kind of those pieces and really narrow your list down. And then you can create targeted ads. You can also build these custom audiences in, Facebook is a really great place to do it. You can build custom audiences in there. You can make sure to pixel your website so that you're capturing those leads and getting a good understanding of who they are and what pages on your site they're visiting. So maybe if I'm visiting a water bottle page, I'm also looking at your keychains or something like that. Being able to understand who likes what is really useful. So when it comes to ads, you really want to understand exactly who's going to be looking at that ad. And what's helpful with a lot of these ad platforms, especially with your social media, is that you can push those ads specifically to those people. You can say, only show this ad to the people in this demographic. Also, why it's really important to understand that audience and know exactly who it is you want that ad to reach before you even put it out. So now let's talk about it on a content side, more of like an organic marketing piece. You want to know your audience because you want to know how are they going to look at the piece of information in front of them and how are they going to receive that information. So let's say you create a piece of content for a pet brand. I care mostly that people with pets see that. Somebody who doesn't have a pet, that content is not going to produce any additional revenue for me, likely, unless maybe they share it with their friends who have pets. Unless it gets in front of somebody that is in the target audience, that's what matters. Content is also a really great way to kind of build your reputation and establish yourself as an industry leader. So you want to make sure you're establishing yourself as an industry leader to the people who it matters to, the people who may possibly buy from you. That is the purpose of content. You want to make sure you're getting in there, you're building that reputation with those people specifically. If I'm running a pet brand, I don't really care about somebody who doesn't have any pets. That's not going to help me. I care about really engaging with the people who do have pets. But if they don't, it's just not really worth it for me. So keep that in mind. The audience really should be at the center of everything you do. Of all the messaging you send out, all the offers you create, you always need to think about it in the context of how will the audience receive this? So that's why it's the most important piece, I would argue, and it's certainly the center of everything. Those are sort of my examples. We can probably move on. I know I talked about that for a long time. I don't know if you guys have any questions on audience or things maybe we should address there before we move on to message.
The only two things that I would add is one, do your market research, right? Do a competitive scape for agencies, use Clutch, DesignRush, and you can start seeing, there's other web dev companies that work with CPG brands, and maybe that's their largest market. Maybe that's a good indicator to invest into more research to see if CPG is good for your agency. The second one is getting out into the community. So go have conversations, get 5 to 10 questions, pay experts using maybe Upwork or something like that to get meetings with individuals that fit that persona, to ask the questions that you need that could help influence how you market to them and serve them. So that's the only two additional pieces of advice that I would give.
We should talk about offers next, because the offer pulls together, your audience. The message ties together your offer and your audience. So maybe we should talk about offers second and finish with message. That might be, in terms of just a way to conceptually think about marketing, that might be a better approach. Nico, you're kind of the offer expert. Do you want to, overview what is an offer and how does that maybe apply to, let's continue with those examples, lead gen, ads, and content?
Yeah, the biggest thing about offers is it's not the service that you provide. It's not the how, it's the why, right? So it's not SEO or PPC or web dev or CRO or ads. It does over lead gen. It's not that. It's the offers. What problem are you actually solving, right? In lead gen is a perfect example of that. Most people think they need more leads, when in reality they might just need a better way to convert leads into paying deals. That's not necessarily a lead gen problem. That might be a sales problem, right? So what you want to convey is, for instance, we help roofing pros or roofing contractors close more deals, right? Close 10 more deals a month. That's an offer. It doesn't go into the next part, which is typically, the why or like the how. But that's what we do, right? There's a very specific niche that we're calling out: roofing contractors. Specific outcome: 10 more roofing gigs. And then usually you can end with or without. Now, people love a little mystery, so I like to use the without. And you can say maybe your agency specializes in local SEO and PPC. And you can say without cold calling, door knocking, or leaving your flyers, at a local coffee shop, right? Because that sparks your curiosity to say, okay, but look, I do that. I go knock on doors. I go cold call. So what are you doing that's so different? So the simple formula that we offer is like we help X, a person, achieve Y with or without Z. And that's the premise of the offer, right? It doesn't really talk about our services. It talks about what we're actually solving for, which if you're an agency and you're struggling with this, there's only two things you're solving for, right? You make people money or you save them money. That's it. So if you can go into a lens of making money and saving money, then you can further define the problems that niche has. And it goes back to what we said about research, right? Maybe they don't want 10, more roofing jobs. Maybe they only want one, and 10 would overwhelm them. Without doing the market research, you just don't know what the offer would be there. So
yeah. So just to kind of add on to that a little bit, you want your offer to be sticky. You want it to be something that people look at and think, that is exactly what I need. And you don't want them to initially, like maybe they initially have more questions and that's fine, but you don't want it to be something that immediately for your target audience is a turnoff, right? Now, if it turns off people who aren't your target audience, that's actually probably a good thing. That makes sure to kind of filter out your leads and make sure you're only getting the people you want to reach out to. And that your offer can serve as a way to qualify those leads in, to make sure that they're a good fit for you and what you do for them. However, Nico, can you give us some examples you gave us some really good examples on how offers apply to lead gen, but how could, let's say, a B2C company use it in their advertisements?
Yeah, and again, it's for B2C, it's a little harder. So pick something B2C. So are we talking like the crop top example?
I'm gonna go my water bottle example. How do I sell a water bottle? How do I package a water bottle offer?
Yeah. So let's say that you're like a Columbia competitor. So you compete with Patagonia or Columbia or one of these brands, right? So you cater to outdoor individuals. Maybe when doing your research and looking at your customers, you find out that the majority of those are cross-country runners, for instance, right? You have a water bottle that's an advertisement could literally call out that niche. So, hey, cross-country runners, right? And if you're running ads, you can filter by, people who like 5Ks and that's not my niche, so I couldn't tell you, for instance. But hey, cross-country runners, struggling to find that perfect water bottle that doesn't leak all over you when you run, make a huge boom when it falls on the ground, and keeps your water cold for less than 2 minutes, then we have a solution for you. Then we have the perfect water bottle for you. So I just applied the same thing just to now a B2C product where I said, hey, cross-country runners, like you opt into that. You identify with that. Like I'm a longboarder. I love longboarding. Anyone talks about longboarding, my ears perk up, right? Same with other hobbies, right? Justine loves snakes, right? So like, hey, snake lovers, like that's gonna grab her attention, where for me, it's not. I'm gonna be like, oh, snakes. That's Justine, I'll send it to her. So that's how you can apply that to more of a B2C product. You call it the niche, right? You bring up problems related to them. Like I had a friend who he would do marathons, but like with a bike. I don't know what those are called.
Triathlons,
right? So he would have like a pouch water bottle and it would just leak all over his back. And a really good example of this is like what contact lens companies do. They're like, there's a one parody commercial where they're making fun of like, oh, I just love when my contact rolls in the back of my eye, or like, something like that. Like that's a problem that then, people who don't wear contacts don't understand that. But everyone who wears contacts has been in that situation where you're like, I think my contact's still in, but I'm not sure. So
yeah. And just to kind of add on to this, I'll, continue along with our example of organic content. How do you position your offer and create content around that so that it's reaching your audience? In your offer statement, again, you want to know who it is that you're helping, what you're helping them do, how you are helping them do it at a very high level. You can create content on that. You can, let's say, you are saying without door knocking. You can create content around why door knocking is maybe less effective now than it was 5 years ago, or how the landscape is changing in ways that position your offer well as you can create content using the exact messaging and phrasing of your offer. You can always throw it into captions and things along those lines to make sure that you are positioning all of your content for sales. Now we should talk about message. Your message really needs to be personalized and genuine. It should include something specific about maybe the company or the person you're reaching out to. Your message also needs to be really clear about your offer. And you need to make sure that everything is structured in such a way that it looks at your audience, it presents your offer to them, and it provides them a clear next step to take in order to, advance your sales cycle, whatever that may be. So messaging can look very different. It can be anything from, let's say, a cold email you might send to a LinkedIn DM to maybe content you're creating. I mean, that all has a message behind it. So it's understanding realistically, how do you present your offer to your audience, and how do you do so in a way that's compelling enough for them to take the next step? Your message oftentimes should have a CTA or call to action in it that's going to drive people to say, you know what, I am a roofing pro and I do want SEO, or I do want to get 10 more leads, and I don't want to go door knocking, and I don't want to do these other things. What do I do to achieve that? Now, your call to action can always have something like, maybe, if so, give me a call. Here's my phone number. Or if so, here's a form to fill out. You always want to lead them to a next step. If you're talking about it in the context of, let's say, B2C ads, your message you want to make sure is really reaching out to those people. And so in your audience research, you should be understanding things also like, what kind of slang does your audience use? How can you incorporate that language to, again, make it feel customized and personable to those specific audience members? So, for example, I wouldn't go into a message to like 19-year-olds use words like nifty, for example. It just doesn't really fit with the niche, but I might use something that's maybe trending on TikTok right now, or really popular. Like I might throw the word Riz in there. Full disclosure, I don't even 100% understand the context. I've seen it and I'm like, wow, I'm too old to understand this. But if that was my niche, I would invest the time to understand that slang, to understand that language, how they speak to each other, to be able to put together a message that's compelling and gets my offer across to them. So understanding those pieces are really important. And also, that applies directly to any organic content you may create as well. You want to make sure you're understanding who it is that you're reaching out to, what you're offering them, and how do you package that in a way that it's going to be received as positively as possible. So any content you create or elicit the emotion you want, maybe you want it to elicit an angry emotion, but the message is really, how do you do that? How do you get them to take the step that you want them to take? And maybe it could just be a purely educational post. Maybe you don't necessarily want them to go fill out a form or, call someone or do something. Maybe what you want to do is just purely to educate them. Your call to action can do something along the lines of engagement, of comment something you didn't know, or leave a note for me in the comments, send a DM if you have any questions, or anything like that can really kind of open up a conversation. That can be part of your messaging as well. You want to make sure you're kind of laying out your whole marketing strategy top to bottom to be able to understand how to use these pieces. So those are really the 3 marketing categories. Every form of marketing is going to be reaching an audience, You want to have an offer to present to them that's really compelling based on your audience research. And you want to package your audience and offer into a succinct message that's really going to be effective and impactful in whatever your marketing goals are. So always kind of work for those three pieces and make sure everything you have is very clearly defined. If you're running a marketing campaign and you don't know who you're trying to reach out to, it's not going to be a successful marketing campaign, probably. If you're running a marketing campaign and you don't have a messaging that feels impactful, it's probably not going to be great messaging. But also keep in mind, if something's not going well in your marketing, know it has to do with one of those three pieces. So if your messaging isn't maybe sticking with your audience, maybe take a look at it and see, first, is my audience right? Did I send this message to the right audience? Second, is the offer compelling? And third, how did I package this offer for this audience to make sure they actually did take the next action that I wanted them to, or the message did get across in one way or another? So Nico and Justine, I don't know if you guys have anything additional to add. Those are kind of all my examples. But that's really how marketing breaks down. It's not crazy. We're all marketers, and that's what it all breaks down to.
We're all marketers. No, I don't have anything crazy that I would add. Just like really, the majority of the time is spent on the niche definition. Like 90% of the work is completed there, because after that, then it'll be pretty easy to go and create, the next, the offers and then the actual messaging to the audience, because you just know, right? You're going after, I don't know, pool cleaners, right? And they actually hate like being on Facebook, right? Your messaging can be like, hey, pool cleaners, stop wasting your time on Facebook trying to find new business. Let the pros handle it, or something like that, where you can just really appeal to them. The only reason you'll know that is because of the research that goes into that. So as always, if you guys found this interesting, please let us know at nico@getbalancemedia.com, and definitely tag us on social with a nice little thumbs up for Justine's 2 years, because now we have to go celebrate. But as always, if you have any questions, ideas, suggestions, please send us a message. Get Balance Media all over the place, and we'll see you guys for our next episode, inching closer to that 52 week episodes that we've done. So we'll be there in 5 weeks. It's gonna be awesome. Have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll talk real soon. Peace.